Hi, we're back. I just wanted to thank everyone for the support. I think in the commentary, war amendments, something with Hamilton, I remember. Wherever you want to start from, really, though. It's always a continuation.
Thanks, babe. Yeah, we were talking about executive orders and how executive orders are what used to be called war amendments, and those war amendments are usually put forth once a country has been subjected to some sort of hostile takeover or occupation. The actual government of the United States, what we perceive as the United States government, is totally foreign to the jurisdiction of America, yet it is there to represent the interests of America, yet it is supposed to be doing those interests of and for America, but it is not. It's only doing everything for itself because it has now reached a point where really nobody is in control of it. Mm-hmm. Nobody's really in control of how the United States government is sinking further and further into its own disparaging position in the world, to the point where you have other people like Russia, for instance, or China, who are right now doing war games off the coast of New York, off the coast of Alaska, and off the western coast. You have now, due to all of the wars that the United States started in the Middle East, you actually have children washing up on the shores of European countries like Spain and Italy and things like that, and that's really horrible. And those things are happening due to the fact that the United States has consolidated itself almost to be an octopus, and every country that is de facto then comes into its grasp, and then they, like the octopus puts the ink in the water so you can't see where it goes. That's exactly what the United States has done. So because of the war amendments, because of the executive orders, because the constant state of emergency, because the fact that you actually have not had a judge in this country, a lawful judge in this country, since 1789. You haven't had a lawful Bashar, aka a marshal, in this country since 1790. You haven't had a
But the country is still running, quote.
No, the country is not running. What's running is
because that's what people think and perceive and see.
Right.
So it's just to create. Mm-hmm.
But what's running really is not what we perceive as the country, is really the corporation. It's kind of like in Fight Club when he was saying how when one reel is being put in the film and then right before the other reel comes in, you have to switch it so that way the people don't realize that that the reel has been switched. That's exactly what happened. So we went from a Republican form of government, right, which is representative. A Republican form of government means that it's a representative form of government, right? We went from that to a corporatized, a federalist way of government, as well as a totalitarian, a totalitarian aspect of government that has now reduced itself almost into a corporate oligarchy. And this corporate oligarchy has now infected every country in the world. So you have every country in the world now railing against the United States, but then at the same time, everybody loves America. We, as Americans, or as Moorish Americans or Moorish American nationals, we again are descendant of the so-called 5 civilized tribes. So who was that? That was the Chickasaw, Choctaw, Charatagi, which is Cherokee, Muskogee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Muskogee, and there's 2 more, I forget. Out of those so-called civilized, Choctaw, and I did.
It's okay. Mm-hmm.
And all of those tribes, but those tribes were what we considered as so-called Indus or Indian. That was another word. Indian meant one from the Indus, or one who was connected to the Moorish empires in what we now today call, what used to be called Bombay, which is now called New Delhi. So We are a people who have a global, there was a Moorish global diaspora that took place between, again, 1493 to 1791. And now from 1791, let's say, to 1865, we have now a total reconstructional aspect of history, by which we, who were the original constituency of the Republic, now we have been made aliens to it through a 14th Amendment false citizenship.
But if everyone, when someone, like let's say a group of people all agree upon something, that thing can still be a lie. But
That's called a lie.
But when it's all agreed upon, when everybody says, yeah, but this is how we're functioning.
That's called the truth.
And it can be difficult though, because the entire country is opposite in terms of what you're discussing.
Not really. The upper 1% of the country, when you hear the president talk about the private sector, we think that they're talking about rich white people, when really he's not. He's talking about people like me, people like you, people who actually
so then
understand.
Why do you think it's not spoken about like that?
Because
that
you cannot
even know or understand what the difference between a citizen and a national can be and are.
Well, because you can't take what makes a people great, and you can't subjugate a people and then leave them what made them great. You got to get them to either throw that off, say that stuff don't exist, or you got to make them believe that what you got is better than what they had. And that's what they did. It's all marketing. Everything that happened with this thing happened with marketing. But you got to remember too, is that none of this stuff happened with Caucasian people themselves being the ones in control doing it. We didn't fall to no quote-unquote white man. We fell to our own people, who then, once divided, now decided to use this so-called white man to disinherit each other by proxy. And then once enough of us was disinherited through this process, that so-called white man realized that this was his chance. And he rose up and did what he needed to do to make sure he would never be enslaved again. And so the perpetual
very good,
the perpetual need to constantly make melanated people be inferior or be on some sort of animalistic level is the basis by which you know that he is truly inferior. Based upon the fact that if you are totally superior, one who is in a total superior position never has to prove that position. You just are. So you'll never hear somebody like me, per se, not saying I'm superior, but I'm superior in my position, in my life, based upon what I've done to get to a point where nobody in this country or in this world can come to me and tell me anything about myself. Whether it be as myself as an individual, myself as a Moor, myself as a national, myself as a member of the Republic, myself as a child of God. Nobody can tell me that. So the thing about it is, when you don't know your history and you just take on history for face value, that means that this cracker could say, well, hey, I got you from the moon, man. What you gonna say? You don't know. You don't know. Because you got people still thinking that they went to the moon.
Well,
like, this is what I'm trying to say. Like,
hold that thought, because I don't want to think.
Yeah, get hyped.
And yeah, not only that, 8 minutes is enough, and we went a little fast. So we will see everyone tomorrow. Thank you very much for your time.